Today I want to talk about coming up against our edge in practice. And that comes up in so many different ways for us. So I thought we would explore what that's like and what's going on. And then I will also say that it's very necessary and timely to talk about what's going on in Ukraine and how that affects us and how we might approach that war of aggression, how we might approach that through our practice. And I guess I mean how we might approach how to think about it or how we might respond through our practice. So let me start there because that's so much on our minds. It's kind of the big, the big giant what to do when we don't know what to do. Or maybe even what to do when there's nothing we can do. Or when we think there's nothing we can do. There's always something we can do. And that doing is really a lot more related to being and how we are in the world. When we think of that as not doing something, then that would be a mistake. Because the way that we are in this world has an effect, not just on ourselves, not just on our family, but on the world around us. And when we approach our practice in this way, when we understand that what we do matters, then it has an effect on the entire universe. Because we're not separate from our families, from our neighbors, and also from the people of Ukraine. It's really easy for us to see when we see how we're influenced by the images we see, how we're influenced by the children sheltering in the subway station who are really too silent for children, and how that breaks our heart. If we weren't connected, we wouldn't feel that. My heart is the same heart as the children's heart. It's the same heart as their mom's or their dad's heart as they try to care for them and comfort them and how they want them to be free from not just violence, but to be free from fear. Wouldn't you give anything right now to have those little kids be free from fear? I would. And it's that heart, that open heart of wanting that so much, wanting to give so freely. That's our heart of compassion. That's how we learn to be present to the world. The wish to go to that grandma and help her carry her things. The wish to go to those people we saw in the news standing in line. Some of them were standing in line to try to get into Poland. Some of them were standing or driving in line, trying to leave areas of danger. Some of them were standing in line to get guns. The wish to go to them. It looks cold there, right? It looks cold. There's snow on the ground. You can see that the ground is hard. And just to be able to give them a cup of hot tea feels so compelling. Don't you wish you could just set up a nice, like a little table with a big pot of soup? And we can't fix this, but wouldn't you just like to be able to offer some comfort on a cold day? This is the Buddha heart. This is our essential nature. That connection with others, that heart of care. This is our birthright. It belongs to all of us. Please don't forget this. It's vital. This gives us, this situation, as dire as it is, gives us a chance to be reminded of that. How many of you have friends, neighbors, maybe family who are affected directly? And if you don't, maybe you have friends, neighbors, family who have friends there, who are worried about them, who are scared. And if you don't, maybe you have ancestors who, like the people currently living, at one time were also scared. Wouldn't you do anything just to be able to give them a hug or to shelter their bodies, to give them a safe place to live, free from bombs and noises, full of love and care, and again, with a nice pot of hot soup on the stove for them to have when they come in from the cold? This wish to give is all of our birthright. And as we notice these images and these stories that are so dire and frightening, please don't forget that essential goodness that we all have. Please let that care, that impulse to give, that wish for freedom from suffering, stay open. It's from this place that we connect. It's from this place that we get through our own day. It's from this place that we meet even those people who are very challenging for us. I mean, do you think that every Russian soldier really wants to be there? It's very cold. You can see from their faces that many of them are very young. We've seen in some stories that some didn't know what they were being sent to do. They didn't fully understand it. We can also wish for them to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. We can wish for them to not have to take on killing. Killing is such a heavy thing. It doesn't just hurt the person who dies, it hurts the person who does it. So we can wish for the soldiers to be free from the burden of killing another human being. We can wish that with all of our being. And we can affect that by the way that we practice in this world, right here, in the safety of our own home. We can go outside and touch the snow, feel the cold on our fingers or the crunch under our feet, and understand that it's the same snow that the people of Ukraine are stepping on, and connect that way. This world is small. What we do really matters. And situations like this are an excellent reminder to practice with all of our being, with every ounce of energy we can find, to practice for the benefit of others. It's not for ourselves. It's for the benefit of the entire universe. And connecting with the suffering of others is an excellent way to be reminded of this. We learn in studying about compassion fatigue, what happens when we hold back. And I want to use that as a jumping off place to talk about what happens to us in our practice when we come up against that wall. You know, sometimes we're practicing, it feels good, we're doing this, it's all new, or maybe it's not new, maybe it's decades old, and suddenly we hit a wall. Boom. You know, for me, the wall, I don't know why, but it has a British accent, and it's like, I just can't do it. So we all have it. We all hit it. And so what are some ways that we can work with that? First of all, I just want to say that's normal. We have this idea that we need to constantly be progressing. But the reality is we need to constantly be being in what is. And we can sort of take on, you know, when we begin our practice and it feels great and we're like, oh my God, my whole life has changed. This is wonderful. I'm going to do this forever. We can take on this attitude that there's something to get. And when we take on that attitude, this like getting mentality, we're reenacting the very causes and conditions that caused us to get here in the first place, which is, you know, suffering. And so we need to take a step back and ease off of that and really understand that everything in life arises and passes away, And likewise, our practice has times that are full of ease and happiness and joy, times that are difficult, times that are boring, times that are horrible. This is our life. And this is what we have to start to understand, that this wave of life is the present moment. This is what is. Not this some sort of an imaginary goal that we've created for ourselves of when I reach this goal, if I could just reach this goal, and I think I can reach it because I think I like connected with that a little bit. If I can reach this goal, then I will be okay. Just thinking that the goal is somewhere else pulls us out of this present moment, pulls us out of what is, and what is our practice. So just getting there in that way takes us away. So I said I was going to talk about compassion fatigue a little bit, and I think that's a nice analogy for what's going on here. So we know, you know, some people go into very difficult circumstances every day. And a good example of that in this present moment is our healthcare providers. And it's really hard to face difficulties every day. Just like, you know, as you know, it's really hard to face our own inner difficulties every day through our practice, and we get tired. So what we found, though, is through studies on compassion fatigue, is that the people who suffer are not the ones who go in the room and attend, but they're the people who pull back. So it's not the nurse who goes into the room and sits with the person. And it's not the nurse who, you know, just takes care, leaves the room and cries. It's the nurse who just can't do it, who opens the door and says, no, I can't do this. Shuts the door, leaves. Or how might you approach it when you have to do it? Maybe they dehumanize the patient or make fun of them or treat them just like a body, you know, just do what they have to do and get out. Or maybe they try to do too much. You know, they get into a real fixing. I have to fix you. I'm definitely going to fix you. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but this is my responsibility and I'm going to do that. And if I don't, then I fail. So that's also a mistake in perspective. The people who make it through these continuously difficult circumstances without compassion fatigue are the ones who accept what is and offer care. You know, maybe I can't take away your pain, but you know, I can touch you in a way that shows I care. Maybe I can even stay in there an extra 30 seconds and just hold the hand of the elderly woman who's confused. Just like that. Maybe they just say, I see you. Or maybe they notice that you're thirsty before you notice that you were thirsty and bring you exactly what you needed. So the people who really meet difficulties in a way that doesn't hurt us, but helps, are the ones who stay present to it. And it's exactly the same for us in our own practice. We come up against things that are hard in our practice. Why? I mean, because they're here. You know, that's all. They're here. We're humans. We suffer. This is a truth. And yeah, we might have invested a lot of time and energy in deluding ourselves that we don't. But when we really start to be quiet and present, then the things that we've been suppressing or pushing away or hiding start to come to the surface. When our mind starts to quiet, you know, without all the chatter and the blocking that we've created to try to keep away things, it's here. And this is a good thing. It's here. When we can recognize what's here, then we know what we need to work with. But nobody said it was going to be easy. We have to care for ourselves in exactly the same way as that nurse who goes into the room and sees the elderly woman crying and knows there's nothing she can do. Or is there? She can attend with care, staying present, simply saying, I see you, I see you. When we bring this care to ourselves, we move away from this idea of fixing ourselves toward an idea of accepting what is. This idea that we can fix ourselves assumes that there's something wrong with us. And we carry that so much. So many of us carry this sense that I'm sure there's something wrong with me. I'm sure. You know, we have it. Who knows where it comes from? Like, my head's too big. Or I'm really a mean person. Or I don't know what that word means. There's something wrong with me. And it becomes like a whisper that stays with us. You know, maybe it starts when we're kids and we feel confused in a situation where everyone else seems to know what to do, but we don't. Or maybe it starts later. Maybe it starts at our home. Who knows? But that little whisper starts to come in. It can become very present. And countering that little whisper is really hard. No matter how many times I tell you, you are whole and complete, just as you are. You are Buddha nature. This is. No matter how many times we hear that, something in us keeps whispering, no, that's not true. There must be something wrong with me. When that happens, we have to learn to take a backward step. We can even offer care for that voice. You know, it came from somewhere. Maybe we created it to protect ourselves. Maybe if we thought if I could just become perfect, then all my problems would go away. Maybe we thought that early. Maybe our parents told us it doesn't really matter where it came from. When we have this idea that we can fix ourselves, that somehow we're broken, it takes us out of the beauty that is this day. This day, with all of its shininess and crunching snow under our feet and friends and family and difficulties. Everything about this day and this moment is just fine. just the way it is. So let's see if we can shift from fixing towards attending to what is. What are we trying to get anyway? If you really take it to its end, what's your image of yourself when you get something? When you become perfect, what do you look like? What does your life look like? Do you float above the earth? Do you walk through a crowd? Do you walk down the sidewalk and everyone just sort of falls aside and, flowers are blooming and the homeless people are like, oh, thank you just for being in my presence. What is your own image? What is your own image? Whatever your image is, what might it look like if we could sync it with where we are right now? What if we did walk down the sidewalk and everyone was beautiful to us? Wow. Her face is so lovely. Wow. That old man is trying so hard. Wow. That person looks so sad. Wow. What a beautiful little kid. What if we met everyone with that appreciation and that acceptance of where they are and who they are? Maybe we could create that world around us. Not some conceptual idea of perfection, but an acknowledgement that what is just fine. An acknowledgement that we can meet what is with acceptance and kindness. That there's nothing to fix, but plenty to attend to. Thank you.